So usually I come on here and I give you all sorts of tips and insights and suggestions and things to help you with your reselling business, which is all fine and dandy. It's great. A lot of people like that type of stuff in addition to the treasure hunting videos. But the only problem with it is that it does sometimes create a misleading narrative that I never make mistakes, or, everything I'm always doing is 100% correct. And so every once in a while, and this is especially for people who are new to the channel, I like to do a video once in a while when I screw up and I mess something up, so that hopefully you could learn from that and realize that if you're making mistakes once in a while, that's totally normal. These things are going to happen, and even people like myself who are making YouTube videos, who are resellers, we're not perfect and we make mistakes too. And so what happened is that last week when I had a live show, it was just one of those days where I was making just lots and lots of sales. And so the sales were continuing throughout the live show, and I had to go to work early the next morning, which typically means waking up around 6:30 to 7 o'clock ish. And so after my live show ended, I just got busy with packing and printing labels, and I had I think 7 or 8 packages or so that I had to go through and and get ready to get out the door. And so one of those items happened to be a poster, and here's my little poster tubes that I like to put the posters in, get ready for shipping. I put the labels on everything, got everything set, and I was tired. I mean, I was even struggling to keep myself awake. I'm putting the labels on kind of like this, and then just kind of going like that. So it was like one of those types of nights. And at the same time, I'm documenting everything for accounting purposes and stuff. And I got through it. I got everything done. Everything was ready. Got out the door. And then a couple of days later, I look at my app and I notice that, for eBay, that there's an item that was I sent out that it said had not been paid for yet. And I said, wait a minute, what the heck? What do you mean hasn't been paid for yet? Now, there have been several times where I have almost done that, where I've almost printed out a label, but I caught the warning that eBay says, hey, you probably don't want to print this label out right now because it hasn't been paid for. But probably just, combined with just being tired, it being a late night, there being a lot of packages, it was like the perfect storm for me to maybe, obviously I must have missed that message. And so I printed it out regardless and sent it out. So now that's neither here nor there at that point because, or at this point, because I can't undo that once it happened. Obviously, going forward, you best believe that I'm going to be even extra careful to make sure that I have been paid before I send an item out. This has never happened before, and fortunately it wasn't for anything expensive. That's one of the things I have to tell myself. This was for a poster that was $16.99, so $17 poster. So thankfully this did not happen on a high dollar item. Although I do have to say that if it was a high dollar item, I am pretty confident I would have been extra careful to make sure the money was there. So I think that's another lesson, is that this is something that I think is more prone to happen to you for lower dollar items. So I don't know about you, but if someone sends me, or someone orders something that's $100 or $500 or something like that, I'm definitely on the lookout to make sure that those funds came into the account. But for these lower value items, this may be more of an area where you could be at risk of this sort of thing happening. But once it happens, what can you really do about it? Well, essentially it has been unpaid. So what you want to make sure you have set up, and I have this set up for everything, is an automatic unpaid item claim will get opened within 48 hours of you not being paid. And that means a message is going to be sent automatically to the buyer asking them to pay you. Now, the thing is, there's some buyers that might actually work in a situation like this because they may not realize, they may not be paying attention that you already sent the item out. Although eBay does send them a message letting them know that their package is out and on its way. So if they know that, there's going to be a lot of buyers in this situation, unfortunately, who are going to say to themselves, well, you know what? you messed up, Mr. Seller, and you sent me, or Mrs. Seller, and you sent me the item, and I didn't pay for it yet, and there's no way you could really force me to pay for it, so I'm just going to keep the item, and I'll take the ding on the unpaid item case. And that's eventually what's going to happen to that person's account if they do not pay. eBay will continue to send them messages, and you yourself as the seller could send them an invoice, which I did, send them a message or two, which I did, explaining the situation and asking if they would pay for the item. So these are things you could do as well, and sometimes that will work and the person might pay you, but it also may not work and they may not pay you, which is what happened in my case. Person did not pay for the poster despite, the unpaid item case being opened, eBay reminding them, me sending them a couple reminders, an invoice, that kind of stuff. Now, at this point, you got to kind of weigh what to do, because the person has the item, right? They didn't pay for it, and you're kind of stuck. You're kind of out. What are you going to do at that point in this situation? The bottom line in this situation is you really just need to tell yourself you screwed up, and you need to make sure it doesn't happen again, and you need to have a short memory and just move on from it. So eBay closed the case last night. That's why I'm doing the video now as opposed to when it just happened, just to tell you the full resolution of it. So they ended the case, and I did block the person, because even though it is my fault about what happened, it's still dishonest to knowingly receive an item that someone, it was free shipping, I did free shipping, so sent it out and not pay for it. So and even if it had been calculated shipping, the point is that I just didn't check, so it's my mistake. And so you've got to own that. That's the thing. You've got to own it. I could sit there and blame the person as much as I want, but ultimately it wouldn't have happened if I was more careful and didn't send it out. So part of it is ownership of your mistakes. You take it as a loss. And that's another thing you have to keep in mind when you're running a business. There's going to be losses that happen throughout the year, and you've got to kind of factor that into things. Sometimes you're just going to screw up, and if it happens a couple of times, you just kind of write it off essentially, and just kind of expect that sometimes in the normal course of business. Especially if you're mailing out lots and lots of inventory during the year, sometimes mistakes are going to happen. Obviously, you try to minimize it as much as possible. This is the first time this has actually happened to me. Like I said, came close several times. Sometimes you almost need something like that to happen in a way to be even more on vigilance for this not to happen again. So I try to reframe things as much as possible into positives and tell myself it wasn't, a super expensive item, and I'd rather it happen with a $17 item like this, so that I'm more aware, more alert, so I don't accidentally send out something again that wasn't paid for, that cost more money. Even though, like I said earlier, I think I'd be more vigilant if it was something that was more expensive. Now, the other thing is that I want to warn people about, because I think people could get kind of sucked into a trap of putting more and more time into an incident like this than need be. So things that you might be tempted to do that are really just going to be a waste of time and energy, and are going to cause you to lose even more time and money over this situation, is to continuously write the person and essentially harass them for payment, which they're never going to send. If they're going to send you the payment by now, they were going to do that. Trying to file a police report or reporting them on the internet crime database and things like that, that's ultimately not going to work, because at the end of the day, yes, while they're in a receipt of something they didn't pay for, it's still going to go back to that you, and I imagine some people watching this may have done this before, or you just did it and you caught the title of this and now you're watching this. Ultimately, you made the mistake. It goes down to you sending out the item, by accident. And so if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be in this situation. So you have to have a short memory. When I saw that message that came through that said that it was an unpaid item case that was closed, I just deleted it. I put the person on block, which is something at least I could do in my control that makes me feel a little bit better about the situation, and just say, all right, I've got to move on now. I can't keep thinking about this, and you've got to have a short memory. It's like I've talked about before with the analogy of reselling in sports. Sometimes you have a bad day. So sometimes, and hopefully most days you go out, if you're good at sports, let's say basketball, and you could score 10 to 20 points a game most times. But sometimes you're going to go out there and you're just going to, you're not going to have a good night. Your shot's going to be off. You're going to, you're going to miss most of them that you attempt, or maybe you do okay overall, but you make one bet, you miss that free throw at the end of the game, and you wind up losing because of it, or something like that, or someone steals it from you and they make the winning layup. That's kind of like the analogy here. So you could sit there and get down about it all day and down about it the next night and that sort of stuff, and let it hold you back and have all this anger and stuff towards the person who bought from you and didn't pay. But it's not really going to do you any good. So you have to have, again, what I call a short memory, and just put it behind you and just move forwards. And that's what I did, and that's what I would suggest to you. So again, sometimes we're all going to make mistakes, even those of us who go out and make videos on YouTube. And you need to know, if you're watching us, that we are not perfect. We do mess up, but it's also how you deal with it, and how you address it, that is something else that's also important to pass on. Not only all the tips to have success, but also the times when you mess up and you make a mistake, how to have success after that mistake. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If so, make sure you hit the like button, give it a big thumbs up. I do plan to do some treasure hunting this weekend, so I am hopeful that I'll have a treasure hunting haul video for you if all things go well. So be on the lookout for that. And I just announced that this Wednesday night I'm going to have Pete the Craigslist Hunter come by. Awesome guy. I've had him on once before, so he is a legendary reseller coming back for another interview. We're going to focus on vintage electronics. So make sure you're on the lookout for that Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 29th. So also make sure you come to my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, and also make sure you come to my Instagram account at prime_time_treasure. I'll see you back in the next video, everyone. Take care.